Today, I am interviewing Elle Tevebaugh. She is a life coach, and I am currently going through life coach training. And she has life coach training, different schools, but similar interests, similar procedures. And we both enjoy serving homeschooling parents and decided to come together and just share a little bit more about homeschooling, the pros and cons of homeschooling, because she homeschools her kids too, about life coaching, what it's all about, why it matters, and anything else that comes up in this interview. So welcome, Elle. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm so grateful to have you on my podcast. I love having homeschooling parents on my podcast. I love having homeschooling parents who also have a business, because that's always sort of exciting, or they do something that is offering a service to other homeschooling families. And this is my first time to have a life coach on my podcast. So thank you for being my guest, Elle.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to get started. I always love it when I have parents who are homeschooling on the podcast. And I want to get started with finding out, how long have you been homeschooling your kids, and why did you start?
Yeah, I have been homeschooling for a little over 2 years. Like other parents who had kids in public school when the pandemic started, I tried to do that system of doing the work that was given to do from home, and it was not working for my son. And I had at that point a kindergartner and a 4-year-old. And so I just started wondering, how did we even get here? I had always thought about homeschooling, and I had kept my kids home, not in preschool, for a while, and was similarly to what you've described, just learning through the day with any question, with any exploring or adventures. And I realized that we had kind of slipped into the school system for various reasons, some support with speech therapy and such. And all of a sudden I found that we were doing something that did not work for our family at all. And so because my son had already been struggling, and because we had planned to move that summer and didn't know what school we'd be enrolling in, and because of the pandemic and not knowing what school would look like, I just pulled them from school and I started homeschooling that, I guess, April of 2020.
So your school age child was 6. Is that what you said?
Yes, he was 6 and in kindergarten. Yes.
In kindergarten. So that's a lovely time to be able to start, because I feel like as a parent, you feel like there's a lot of grace on your side. Like in a previous interview I did with somebody, she said, her mom says, well, how bad can you mess it up? It's like numbers and letters.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you can put them back in the following year. Mm-hmm. And is that sort of how you felt in your mind?
Yes. And I think that each year I kind of think, well, what is best for them right now? And so we'll be starting our 3rd year of homeschooling. And I feel confident that this is the best for my kids this year. And I'm kind of holding it loosely. I would love to homeschool them all the way through, but I also want to be open to thinking about what they need at any given point.
That's something I haven't talked a lot about on the podcast. And if you don't mind, I'd like to address it a little bit here. I think that's important. I don't think homeschooling is always right for every family. And while it may even be right for you at some stages in your life, there are other stages it might not be right. And I, as a parent, have gone through that, where it felt right for both of my kids for a long time. And then for one child, we had to make changes, and she did go to private school for 1.5 years before she returned to homeschooling. Mm-hmm. I guess what I found out is nothing's perfect. Private school wasn't perfect. Neither is homeschooling. Yeah. But at that time, I do still feel like that was the right choice for that child at that time. And it was hard as a parent, because all I ever wanted was to homeschool my kids. So for me to do something different was really, really hard. But I think keeping open-minded and actually thinking about all of your circumstances. Every school district is different. Some are better than others. Every child is different. Some kids may do better in that setting than at home. But yeah, I just think that's really an important thing that you're doing, to just keep open-minded about that. Because if at some point you need to do something different, I think it's important as a parent to not beat yourself up for
Yeah.
making a change. And that would be easy. It was easy for me to do.
That makes sense. I was beating myself up. How did we even end up in public school? This wasn't the plan or what I thought was best. And I had that sense that it wasn't right. It wasn't working for him. And so to be able to say, I didn't finish out the school year. I told his kindergarten teacher, we're going to turn in 1 or 2 things that you're expecting to see from us, but we are now homeschooling. And we jumped into a month of studying ancient Egypt, which my 6-year-old was obsessed with at the time.
Awesome.
And I found from there, it just fit for us as a family. And of course, it was so bumpy along the way. It wasn't perfect, but there was so much joy in it, I think, for all of us.
Well, I hope so. Let me ask you. So if you thought you were always going to homeschool and then you sort of ended up with him in school, can you look back now and see why that was the case? Were you lacking confidence? Were there circumstances in your life? What was going on there?
There were various circumstances. One was maybe a little bit of pressure from family. Another was that our younger son needed some speech therapy, and the best way to get him that speech therapy, he went from having 50 words at 2 to having like 4 words and mostly just squawking and yelling. And so it wasn't that we were in a rush, but everyone was unhappy at that point. He was just squawking all the time in frustration and not being able to communicate. And so we wanted to get him that support, and they had him go to preschool, and some other folks were saying your son is behind. We had him in like a little church not homeschool, but a little church preschool, my older son. And they said, well, he's really going to struggle in kindergarten. You're going to have him in kindergarten twice. And so then we just kind of looked at some Waldorf schools and some other options, but the only one that opened up was the public school. And so they just all of a sudden that year they were at school and it was fine. And I went with it, but in my gut, I thought, oh, I was going to homeschool, but this will give me options to pursue my coaching business. And so I kind of rolled with it until something called it into question, which was moving and the pandemic and him struggling in kindergarten. He was, having meltdowns about writing a letter wrong, and just thought this is not working for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you wanted to do it, but you were hearing all these outside voices telling you that's not the right thing to do.
Yes, absolutely.
So in hindsight, do you wish you could have sort of silenced those outside voices and listened to your own?
Yes. And I think I had to go on a growth journey of becoming someone who was able to say, I'm the expert in my own life and I know what my kids need. And even, to family or friends who had opinions, to say, thank you for your input, but I'm the parent and I get to choose. But I never had the strength to say that and to stand present with myself and say, I'm okay. And we will figure it out together. But I'm the one that has been given responsibility to care for my children, and I can make the choices that they need.
So if a parent is listening to this today and they are feeling like you were, where I want to homeschool my kids, this is what's in my heart, this is what I actually really believe is best for my family, but they're hearing all these voices of doubt around them, what would you suggest to a parent?
I try not to give a lot of advice, but the thing that really worked for me was actually my partner saying over and over again, you're the best possible teacher for our children. That doesn't mean there won't be other people in their lives, other teachers, other coaches, family and family friends who will speak into their lives, but you are the best possible teacher for our children. And I did not believe him for a very long time, but it has settled into my bones as being absolutely true that each of us is the best teacher for our children in whatever capacity that looks like, even if someone's, working 12-hour days. In the window of time that they have with their children, they are the best equipped to know and love their children and guide them. And so I think that homeschooling is absolutely an option, and there's so many resources out there to get the support that you need to become the homeschool teacher that you would want to be.
I love that. I agree with you that you are the best possible teacher for your children. And I tend to think, I realize there are parents on all sorts of the spectrum. If a parent is addicted to drugs and this and that, they're probably not wanting to homeschool anyway. They're not listening to this podcast, but I'm here to say, if you're listening to this podcast, I know you care. I know you care. I know you have your child's best interest at heart, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be looking for resources like this and listening to a podcast like this or watching the YouTube video later when it comes out. It's not what you would be doing. So to me, the people I am speaking to are people who care. They are people who care about their kids, who truly have their children's best interests at heart. And so, yeah, I do believe that, like, if you're listening to this, you know best about your kids. You care more than anybody else about your children. And it can be difficult. I didn't personally go through what you're going through, and I have a pretty strong personality. And years ago, in college, I took a class that literally changed my life forever. And I learned how to set boundaries in that class. And I'm probably too good at it at times. So people didn't really question me a lot, probably because I would have been like, well, that's nice. You can have your opinion. This is what we're doing. But I don't think that's the norm. I don't think the way I was is the norm. I think most people, especially prior to the pandemic, had people coming at them, no, this isn't a good idea. And it can be hard. So you really do have to fall into yourself and really think through for yourself what you believe, what you think. And that's my thought.
I think
so. So Elle, let's talk a little bit, because all of this is sort of leading toward life coaching. I have this desire now. I'm like, I want to coach you. And do you want to coach me?
Yes.
So in my life coach training, here's what I learned. And I went through Brooke Castillo's The Life Coach School, and I'm still in process of becoming certified. I'm not actually certified yet, but if anyone's listening to this when it comes out, I may still be offering free one-on-one sessions or maybe small group sessions. But while I'm learning, I'm doing the sessions free. So what I learned is, and the model we use, we call it the model. You have circumstances, which are basically facts. This is the way it is, and then you have a thought about that circumstance. And from that thought, you end up having feelings. And from those thoughts and feelings, you create actions that lead to results. Do you have a similar type of model or method that is used in the training that you received?
Yeah, I have. It's different. It was so interesting to me to hear you describe that, because it's different, although I've learned, I think, some similar thoughts of how our thoughts lead to our choices. I have a different model. The first one that I learned in my school and certification was the GROW model. And within that, it's just a series of steps. What would you like to change? Where are you feeling stuck with that? And you dive into conversations where the coach then listens very carefully and doesn't give advice, but asks questions that help lead to the aha moment. I know you referenced that in one of your other podcasts. That aha moment then gives you the freedom to go, oh, I can be unstuck because now I know this, when I maybe didn't know that before. And so then we build those action steps. And what actions do you want to take to change things from here? I've also gone through a positive intelligence program certification, and Shirzad Shamin developed that program based on leading research in all kinds of sciences that are studying how our brains work and how to shift to a positive mindset. So I also incorporate positive intelligence into my coaching as well. And it's the idea is we have these negative thought spirals, and there are tools that I use to bring us into the positive thought spirals that then you can use this wise sage part of yourself to have a positive spiral in your thoughts.
Okay, I love this. I don't know if you've listened to the episode that dropped today as we're recording this, but
No.
it is all about positive and negative thinking.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, okay, so that's what was that called again? Positive intelligence.
Positive
What?
intelligence. It's the positive intelligence program. There's also a book called Positive Intelligence, and different ways that you can kind of incorporate that into your life and into coaching.
Okay, I might have, well, let's not say I might. I will be reading that in the future. Is it on Audible? I love books on Audible. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you are doing things online, you're online a lot, and so you're sitting a lot. And I'm like, when I am done at the computer, I am done sitting. I'll listen, but I don't. I'm reading one right. Let's see, right now. Here's what I'm reading. Soar with Your Strengths. I heard about this on another podcast. It's quite good, and I'll be talking about it in an upcoming podcast. But yeah, so I am always reading. I've got 3 books I'm reading right now, but it's not like I fly through them because I don't read that fast. Because it's not that I don't read fast. I don't sit down to read a lot.
Yes.
So anyway, sorry, I totally went off at the
it's so exciting. There's so much to learn about, and it brings so much change in our lives when we do take the time. I think that's a core belief for me, is that I need to continue growing so that and learning new things, and that inspires my children to grow and learn and have a love of learning and a confidence that they can learn. And so I love that you're reading free books and that you're always taking in and excited about absorbing new information that can change your life, because that sets the groundwork for our children.
Yes. So I absolutely agree. Now, but I do want to go back to life coaching. So what have you seen as you have coached specifically parents, but people in general? What have you seen over your 5 years of being a life coach? How do you think you have best served and helped parents and just other people?
Oh, it's a great question. I think that over and over again in coaching, when I see the most transformation, I am reminded of a fact that I learned right away. The groundwork of my coaching is the belief that people have responsibility and capability in their own lives to make the changes, and that I'm not leading or guiding or telling them what to do. And I know some coaches have programs, here are the 12 steps to resolving this issue. And I think that's fantastic. That probably comes out of a lot of learning that they have done and working with others. But I think that the best thing I bring is support, helping people be really heard and helping them have those transformational moments that shift the entire groundwork of why they've been stuck in a certain area. And so when I work with parents and it's like, we just keep hitting this wall over and over again, I know that coaching can then help people see it differently and resolve what was lying underneath the cyclical problems that we have, the patterns that we have. And so I don't know that it's like one area. Like you've described before, it can be any area. That's the beauty of coaching. It's the same pattern. No matter what I'm coaching someone on, I follow the same pattern and the same steps. But those aha moments leave me with so much joy.
Yeah. And, and as I'm sort of talking about coaching more on my podcast, because I'm going through this, and it is my intention very much to specialize in helping homeschooling parents. It doesn't mean I can't help other parents or other people as well, but my heart is really there with homeschooling parents, because I have had so many challenges of my own. And I recognize that the way I think can lead to a very different result. And so what I'm really trying to do is help parents wrap their mind around what coaching is, because not everybody understands it. Not everybody even gets why it's important.
Yeah.
But So why do you think it's important? Yeah,
Oh, I
you're
love this
dying to
question.
share this. I can see it all over you.
Let's see, I first started receiving coaching just through a program, through my work. It was at a discount, and I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a try. And my partner and I always say it's actually the best money that we have ever spent was in receiving life coaching. And I wanted to bring that transformation. So I think what coaching is, you've referenced this in another podcast, but that coaching is not counseling. It's not therapy. We don't resolve your past issues, but we come in and I think that I often will say coaching is not something that you would hire a coach if you could resolve it by yourself, sitting down for 20 minutes and making a to-do list or reading a book. It's these areas where we are chronically stuck and we truly need a change. I always know someone's ready for coaching when they say, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot live like this anymore. This problem, I'm ready to face it. And so then what coaching becomes is this dialogue, whether in a group or one-on-one, where you figure out together, where am I stuck? What is the problem? What do I want it to be like? What do I hope and dream of? And we set a really clear goal together of what that's going to be. And then we just have these conversations each week that bring not only those aha moments, but then also I can give accountability and support as a coach to then make those changes. And I never give homework. I never say, well, I think you should go read this book. And that's how I coach. But I don't say you need to do this. I say, what steps can you take with this new information you have? And then I check in about that. How's that going? Did it change anything? And that pattern of coming back to it leads to, I believe, always more transformation than anyone expects.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there was something you said earlier too that I wanted to bring in. When I am coaching someone, I am not solving your problem for you.
No.
I am not telling you what to do. And she's shaking her head if you're listening on the podcast, like, nope, we are not doing that.
No.
What we're doing is we're helping you think through your own problems, or maybe there's a goal you want to achieve. Think through how to get there. But it's funny because when I was, and I know I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but when I was at this coach training, that as part of the training, they would teach, but then there was modeling for it. And there were people being trained in how to do this. And it is hard to do for yourself. Sometimes you can do a lot for yourself, but sometimes you really do need, even as a coach, someone else to help pull it out of you, because there are people who are literally being trained on how to do this and understand it all. But they would have another coach in training with these master coaches standing sort of behind them to give them some. And you could just see these people just being like, oh, that's why I have that problem.
Yes.
Oh, and suddenly, because of your awareness, you are able to make changes, because without awareness, no change happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's why we get so stuck in the same patterns over and over again. It's because we don't know what's leading to it. We don't know how to get out of it. And it's exactly what you described. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So how do you think coaching has made you a better parent? Let's start with you being coached, because you went through being coached quite a bit before you became a coach, right?
Yes, I did for years, probably 5 years of being coached. And after going through the coaching program, realizing I have to be able to bring this for other people, I also continue to receive coaching. I have spent so much time and energy in receiving growth and transformation in my life, because it's almost an addiction at this point. I want to become the best me that I know I can be, and the me I want to be. It actually, your question ties back to something I said earlier. I didn't have the confidence to be present with myself and to trust myself and to say what I needed. I have been a people pleaser forever. And I was so busy taking care of other people in my work and in my life, that my first coaching goal with my coach was, I need to drink more water. I'm dehydrated all the time. That was the place that I started. I can't do basic self-care, and water is like the foundational place that I want to start. I literally need to help in making some goals around drinking water more often. And it's gone to places of like healing, deep family relationship things and setting goals. I used to just receive everything that anyone would want to give me for free. Like my family loves buying things, and then they would be so kind to pass it along to me when they were done. And my house was just filled with stuff. And it was not hoarding so much as inability to release things. And now I live a minimalist lifestyle. And I'm just trying to think. I've taken classes and just gone through probably at least a dozen coaching journeys on things that I wanted transformation in my life.
Yeah. Now, so how does that actually make you a better parent?
Oh,
because
right.
I know it does. I know it does. I mean, if you don't think it does, tell me.
Oh, no, it absolutely, it's changed everything about how I show up. And I know that sounds maybe like an exaggeration, everything, but I have so much more freedom to be present with my kids, with my family, and with the community around us, because I am coming from a place of well-being, not a place of I'm starved for self-care and I spend all my time managing things that I don't want to be managing. It's this, I actually have this reservoir of well-being. And of course, there are still things I'm working on. I constantly, my struggle in being coached is I usually have about 4 goals at a time and I have to narrow it down, but I still want to be growing. There's still things I want to change and grow in. But I think the 2 key things are I can show up more for my children, and I teach them that we can change, that we can grow, that they don't have to be stuck. And my older son especially struggles with that area. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. It's very easy for him to say, I can't. And so I think that in him seeing the growth journey that both my partner and I are usually working on something, we show him, well, I can't yet, but I'm learning to.
Yet. I love that.
Yes.
I can't yet. Or I'm working on it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just that. And that's what I was talking about in the episode that came out today, is changing the words in your mind from I can't to I'm learning how. I'm working on it, because that I can't lead you toward doing nothing and stopping. I'm working on it. I'm learning lead you toward opening your mind and being willing to bring more in. So those words matter.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So you said several things I would like to touch on. So you said I was a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you listen to Brooke Castillo's podcast, The Life Coach School, which is where I go through. And she says, people pleasers are liars.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's true. And I always was like, I am so kind and wonderful and always tell the truth. And as I've gone on this journey, it's like, oh, I am a chameleon. I'm a liar in like just trying to show up in whatever space, whatever anyone needs me to be. And so it's been this beautiful thing to realize, no, I am me. I know who I am. I'm Elle, and I am going to be that person regardless of what other people may want or expect from me.
And this is, and I did not want to, I wasn't trying to like put you in a corner.
No. It's so true though.
I didn't think you would
so
take
shocking.
it that way.
Yeah.
But for the listeners, they might have thought that, because I think through our training, we've gone through some different things, right? But, and here's what that means. People pleasers are liars. It's like, if you're showing up as somebody you're not, people don't even like the real you. They don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, and here's an example. And I show up on my podcast in a certain way because I recognize there are children in the background, but guess what? I totally dropped the F-bomb off camera. I totally swear I am so real.
Yeah.
I am not perfect. And I always try to like share that. And here's something I've had a challenge with, and I've sort of figured it out, but I always try to share enough so that my listeners know I have had real challenges, real struggles, and I'm a real human, but to not share so much that I am giving away all of my children's personal information, because as a parent, your children are inherently tied to that relationship.
Yes.
So, you try to share enough that people get it, but not so much that you're just saying everything about your kids, because those are their stories, not mine. They're part of my story, but that is not my story.
Right.
But and like, I'm okay with people knowing that because I don't want you to think I'm perfect. And actually, at some point, I'm probably going to be starting another podcast with my best friend, and there
Wow.
will be a lot of the other side of Jackie. But,
Yeah.
this side shows up because this is what people are here for,
Yeah.
homeschooling.
Mhm.
And I know that there may be kids in the back seat,
Mhm.
and some parents swear in front of their kids, some don't.
Mhm.
And I don't want you to not listen to the podcast because I'm swearing, with your kids in the car, but I totally do. And I totally mess up, and I'm totally a mess sometimes, like, and that's okay. but I don't want people to just think like I'm perfect, because that would be a total lie, right?
Yeah.
That's just putting out this image of I do everything perfect, and no, I don't.
Mm.
Not by a
And
long shot. Ask my children.
yeah, and we don't want to put pressure on other people. If we're presenting this I'm perfect side, then everyone else feels like, well, what's wrong with me? It's an
Yeah,
Instagram
nothing.
syndrome or something.
Nothing. Yeah, I was listening to I'm in another like coaching program, and they have a private podcast feed, and like about being just a mom. And what, you
Mhm.
don't always want to do all the things.
No.
You don't always
No.
want to, sometimes you just want to do what you want to do,
Yes.
and but that's important. Sometimes you should do what you want to do. It's part of
Yes.
that self-care.
It is.
you know
Yeah.
because it's hard to show up for your kids
Mhm.
if you're not taking care of you. And I think coaching is a fantastic way to take care of you.
I agree. It puts what you are needing most. It gives you support in the area where you're most struggling, where you most need help. And that just absolutely helps your children because you're coming in with more wellness. You're not at the end of your rope with something that you're just losing it about this thing, but no, you feel like I'm going to get there. It's going to be okay. And you bring a lot more presence and joy and peacefulness to your home.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at our notes because there were several things. Is there anything you want to bring up while I'm glancing here?
Oh goodness, I don't know. I think it's just such a gift that you're bringing to help people know homeschooling is a way of life, that it's about community and about family. And I think that just ties in so beautifully to what people need right now, that they can have permission to just choose their values and say that is homeschooling, that is a key part of it. It's not just curriculum. So thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
message.
you're welcome. Okay, I know we could totally wrap up here, but I'm game for 5 or 10 more minutes if you are.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you homeschool your kids? What's your approach?
Yeah.
Are you good to share it?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. It's kind of a funny answer though. It's not maybe the standard answer. I actually build my own curriculum, and I could use the word curriculum loosely. I would say that I blend Waldorf, Montessori, looking a little bit at the standards for that year for my kids if they were in public school, but then also just child-led learning. I mix that in, and kind of exploration and nature-based learning, and some things in a group and some things alone. So it's a complete mashup of a
Totally
lot of options.
eclectic.
But I studied elementary education in college, and I always thought I would be a teacher. Teachers were so inspiring to me. They were the people who made me feel loved and seen and accepted. And so I wanted to bring that. And I never did actually become a teacher. That's a different story. But I'm a homeschool teacher, and I know that not everyone feels equipped to do that. And I think that there's absolutely a place for any path that people choose. But I just kind of mash things together. And I make a plan for the whole year, and I stick to that month to month, but I also kind of weave in things or take things out depending on what we're experiencing as a family.
I love that. So you went to school to become an elementary education teacher,
I
and you have a
did.
degree, a
Mhm.
classroom teacher.
A classroom
Okay.
teacher,
All
yes.
right. So I have a degree in phys ed, which has almost nothing to do with homeschooling your kids.
I mean, our children are whole beings. And so that is an
Yes.
aspect of what they're learning.
Yeah. I mean, I do really believe like your body and your mind are the two most important things, because without those two things, nothing else matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But So what would you say to parents then, since you have this elementary education, even though you didn't go in the classroom and use it? Do you think it's necessary for a parent to have a degree in elementary education to homeschool their kids?
Not at all. Here's a terrible secret. I don't think that almost anything that I learned from that has helped me as a homeschool parent. So in case you're feeling like you need to go get more training and to be a homeschool teacher, there's so many resources out there to support homeschool parents. And I've used that so much more than my degree in elementary education.
Yeah. And that's sort of, I don't know how you're going to answer this, but that was sort of my guess, because
Yeah.
same thing for me. It
Yeah.
doesn't make a dang bit of difference. So if you are thinking about homeschooling your kids and you're like, oh, but I don't even have a degree in education, I'm not a teacher, I can't do this. Oh no. Instead, change your thought. There are plenty of resources out there. I heard these people say they didn't even use their degrees and they're homeschooling their kids. Like, I can totally learn with my kids. I can totally find the information I need. I can find a tutor, right? All these things.
Absolutely.
Like, yes. And the other thing, what I love that I heard you saying is you sort of create your own stuff. You can do that too. Any parent can do that. You can totally cherry pick what you like. You don't have, it does not have to look like it does in school. That is the one thing I'm always trying to convey, is like, it doesn't have to look like it does in school. And you don't think so either?
I don't think so either. And I think that there's so much, I know that for some people, it's really important to them to stick close to what they're doing in schools, or to have a really clear plan and follow that all year. Or as you have referenced before, oh, I'm going to follow this curriculum all the way through. I love and am growing in flexibility in my homeschooling, realizing that when those moments that I say, this is what we're learning today, and we're going to get to the end of what I have planned, that's our worst homeschooling moments. And the moments that I see curiosity. And my older son he asks so many questions, and he asks these complex questions that I almost don't know the answer to, but it's like, let's follow that. Let's find out together. Those are our best days. So I started out like, we're going to, at the very beginning of a homeschooling a little over 2 years ago, I was very much trying to follow what they should be doing in schools. And I am leaning more and more over time toward child-led learning, but with a base of, I also know we need to cover these things together.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Elle, I would love to have you back on the podcast again. This has been so fun.
So fun.
Like, I think I wrote all these other things. Like, I totally lean toward minimalism too. We could totally dive in there. We could talk more about people pleasing. I mean, we could coach each other in our own ways. And let people see what that looks like. So you do your style, I do my style. That might be fun. Now you have more experience than I do. So people will be seeing me learn. And even as I'm sharing what I'm learning, I can already, the episode that dropped today, I'm like, oh, I needed to separate thoughts and feelings more, because I sort of shared some feelings as a thought, and but it's still leading you down the right path, because a feeling is a word: excitement, anger, sad, love. It's a word. A thought is a sentence or a phrase, in your mind. And so like, I'm like, oh, I already want to correct that. So I've corrected it now.
But you're showing us the growth journey that you're on. That's what I noticed from your first episodes, when you're saying, I'm going to become a coach, and this process of you learning, you're exposing that we don't do that in our culture enough, showing these areas of struggle and weakness.
Oh, all your mess ups.
I love it. I love it.
Well, thank you. But I will admit, I did go back in March. I spent almost 2 weeks going through every podcast episode, listening, and they were so bad in the beginning.
Oh, never go back.
No, I did, because, well, here's what I wanted to do with that is, I didn't want, if this was your first episode you ever listened to, there were some you would have never come back. And I'm like, they were like, I did save the originals though, because I know that someday I will be teaching like other homeschooling parents how to start a business, how to start a podcast. And I want to be able to show them, like, it wasn't always very good. It really did stink in the beginning, but you just have to start, because that's how it goes. It is like, I'm going to toot my own horn for a minute. I am so stoked. Like, this podcast reaches over 80 countries now. I have listeners around the world. And when I started, it was like me, my mother, and I. And 3 of those 5 listens every week was me, because I was just so amazed at my own voice coming out of the podcast. I was like, wow, and it was bad, but I thought it was great then. And that's okay. Because if I wouldn't have been like just proud of myself for showing up, I never would have got here and met you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for showing us that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you ever want to learn to podcast, look me up, Elle.
Awesome.
All right. We're going to call this good for today.